This summer, feel free in FP with the Summer 2022 collection from Free People, a lifestyle brand crafted and curated for the creative spirit. As the summer heats up, Free People cools you down with bright colors and optimistic prints, always expressing your creativity. When you're looking to tune out, or when you're looking to tune in, when you're looking for peace of mind, when you need that moment of zen, when you feel free in FP. Shop the Summer 2022 collection at freepeople.com.
Empire. A little weight can go a long way.
Same thing if you go for any regular workout, and you wear our gear, it gives you a boost. But, different people have different objectives. If your objective is to get, every single step of the way stronger, yeah, then you would progressively add more load because you would get, you would obviously get stronger.
That's Stefan Olander, founder of Omorpho, where they believe adding some weight to your workout attire will bring major results. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. Stefan Olander spent much of his career working with major athletic brands, and you'll hear how that experience led him to this point of branching out and building a new product that he believes will also capture the marketplace. Our guest this week is Stefan Olander, who is the founder of Omorpho, which is revolutionizing training with micro-weighted gravity sportswear. Stefan also is an author in the world of digital sport and spent a long time at Nike. So we've got a lot to talk about with you today, Stefan. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me start with Omorpho. Tell us what the products are and what the basis of their creation was.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. The whole idea behind Omorpho is that forever we've been told that whatever you wear for sports should be as lightweight as possible, right? Because every ounce you take out of your clothing and your footwear is an ounce less that the athlete has to carry, which is true when you compete. The irony is most people spend about 90 to 95% of the time training to compete. And at that point, the complete opposite is true because what's the first thing we do when we put on a super lightweight shirt? Well, we go to a gym and pick up a weight. So the whole idea behind Gravity Sportswear, which is our collection, was that if we add micro weights, small weights, and distribute them anatomically, we can give you much more benefit from anything you do without changing anything but what you wear.
How much weight are we talking about? What is added to the sportswear?
Well, it depends. Our collection has a range. So the whole premise behind the science behind Gravity Sportswear is called microload. And with microloading, we are recommending between 1 to 5% of your body mass. So traditionally, weight vests have been around forever. And, usually it's, throw on 20 pounds and then you walk around like a robot and it's really hard to move naturally. So what we've said is, and in our science, we've seen that if you add anything from a half a pound up to our heaviest product, our weighted vest for men is 10 pounds, but it ranges from a half pound to 1 pound to 2 pounds, depending on what product you use. So we have a whole collection of products where you, depending on activity, can choose how much weight you want to add. But the key thing here is not just the weight itself, it is how it's distributed and how we do it in a way where you can move naturally without inhibiting your form, basically. So this has been the issue traditionally when you're wearing weight vests is if you're a sprinter, you can't put on a weight vest and go for a run because, first of all, it's going to mess up your joints. But secondly, the weight is too heavy for you to move the way you were intended to.
Okay, so take me through the science behind it. What did you learn about having weighted sportswear that shows will help someone perform better?
Well, so our head of science, Dr. Erin Fazer, her PhD has been around researching this. And so it was really, when we started working together a few years ago, it was really fascinating to us that, intuitively people think, well, if they pick up one of our pair of tights, for instance, that weigh around 2 pounds, the first thought is like, okay, I feel that there's weight here, but when I put it on, you forget that it's there. And you realize you can move the way you were intended to. And in the first response is, well, is this heavy enough to really have impact? And we've seen tremendous effects from this when you move at high speed. So, you can increase everything from your speed to your power to, you can burn up to 8% more calories just wearing our product. So, and this is something that is both ourselves as well as a lot of independent resources have researched. So it's not, and we actually have a whole section on our website around the science of microload where all these white papers are. And it's remarkable how little weight you have to add in order to sort of reap the rewards and get the benefits of training with microload.
For you personally, what was the genesis of this? Why did you want to go in this direction?
Well, it was interesting. I was still at Nike at the time, and I did a workout after work one day, and a friend of mine brought along a weighted vest. And we did this traditional workout. I don't know if you're familiar with Omorpho, but it is in memory of a soldier fallen in Afghanistan, Murphy, who did this workout over and over again. And in his memory, this is done on Memorial Day, and it's a really tough workout. And you're supposed to do it with a weighted vest. So a friend of mine brought along the weighted vest, and we did. And I'd done the workout before, but unweighted, and it completely changed the nature of this workout. And I barely made it through, but it really triggered something in my head that said, okay, if this changes physiologically, what does it do also mentally? And I started doing research around it, and it started off just with the intent of making a better weighted vest, because the vests at the time were pretty clunky, heavy, and you also had this, you were putting weights in pockets so you couldn't move around freely, so we started off just developing that. But as we were doing that, we became more and more interested in, beyond the vest. If you add the right load in the right places, what would a collection like that look like? And how would we go about making it? And it took us 3 years of research and development with an unbelievable team to get to a place where we could launch the full Gravity Sportswear collection. But the genesis was, and the best ideas come from when you use something yourself, and you see an opportunity to make it better.
And so as this progresses, is this a progressive thing where I would wear something that is weighted at a certain amount, and then as I start to perform better, I add more weight? How does the system kind of work here?
I mean, different people have different objectives, right? And I think that for us, this is not one of those where you put it on and then every single day you use it for everything. But you can think of it as training in general, right? You dial it up or down. If you're a runner, you're doing some long runs, some speed runs, some hill runs. And for the most explosive movements in that example, you would wear Gravity Sportswear because it boosts the effect of it. Same thing if you go for any regular workout, and you wear our gear, it gives you a boost. But, different people have different objectives. If your objective is to get, every single step of the way stronger, then you would progressively add more load because you would get, you would obviously get stronger. But for most people, fitness is more a matter of staying fit and healthy and feel good about themselves. And in that regards, a lot of people have a very similar routine. You kind of do the thing you do to stay fit. And that for those instances, all our Gravity Sportswear is doing is giving you a boost that gives you more from every one of those workouts.
Does the clothing at all double as a wearable and collect any data about your performance?
No, and this was fun. I led the digital innovation team at Nike for years as vice president of global digital innovation, and we did a lot of research around this. And while there was a huge surge in sort of the quantified self and biometric data, it turns out that you can get the lion's share of what you need through your watch, and everything else that you add into apparel usually adds friction because you have to charge it and you have to pair it, and it makes it trickier to wash it.
Yeah.
And what we see is those things create a hurdle for most consumers where they just go, the relative benefit of getting that biometric data is not worth it because of all the friction it introduces into using this. So for us, this is much more about motivation and in the simplest way possible, helping people get a better workout, but not by introducing a bunch of friction along the way.
Okay, so but you do obviously see value in the data and the analytics and wearables.
Oh,
do you
absolutely.
Do you see for this company potentially then a partnership with someone who could then provide that and kind of become a partner for Omorpho?
Yeah, absolutely. Both partnerships, and we have a very competent team that led a lot of those developments when we were working at Nike as well. So we have a lot of knowledge around what it would take from an engineering standpoint to embed these. But the moment you go into that space, you are really limiting your audience, and it becomes a niche. There are, and as I said, the biometric data that you could derive from a watch kind of gives 90% of the people what they need. You're really talking about performance for a very small group of elite athletes that would benefit from that. So I think for us, that's something that may well come in the future, but we really want to serve as many as possible, as fast as possible. So it'll be down the road.
This episode is brought to you by AT&T. AT&T is opening connected learning centers across the country, opening doors for students in need by giving them access to free high-speed internet, computers, and educational resources that can keep them learning. It's just part of our ongoing commitment to help more students stay connected. Because when students stay connected, they get closer to their dreams. To learn more, visit att.com/connectedlearning.
This episode is brought to you by The Elder Scrolls Online. Today is the perfect day to start a brand new adventure. Join over 20 million players in The Elder Scrolls Online. With this award-winning role-playing game, play any way you like. Discover the mystical lands of Tamriel through grand quests and epic battles. No matter your playstyle, you can create a character that's distinctly you and roam freely across an ever-expanding world, from Morrowind to Skyrim to Oblivion. You can play solo or with friends. You can even recruit companions to fight dragons. Start your journey with ESO, available on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation. To begin, simply head to elderscrollsonline.com/buy.
Guys, are you looking for that extra confidence when it's time to have fun? Let me tell you about BlueChew.com. BlueChew is a unique online service that delivers the same active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. BlueChew's tablets help men combat all forms of ED. BlueChew is also an online prescription service, so no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And it ships right to your door in a discreet package. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And the best part, all done online. Blue Chew's tablets, made in the United States, and they prepare and ship direct, so it's cheaper than a pharmacy. And here's a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code FUTURE, F-U-T-R, at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com, promo code FUTURE, F-U-T-R, to receive your first month free. And how specialized is the sportswear? Is there wear for cyclists versus runners versus weightlifters? How are you kind of viewing that?
The great thing about it is that it is universal, right? So regardless of what activity you're doing when you're moving, you get benefit from it. So we haven't divvied it up and said, our long sleeve shirt is great for running and our short sleeve shirt is great for tennis. But what we see is it depends on what fits you, what climate are you in, and how hard you want to push yourself. So that's why the benefit of microload, and the reason it's called microloading, is because it is not interfering with your movement. So it's pretty amazing that we have athletes, NBA athletes, NFL athletes, soccer players, tennis players, runners, yogi, a lot of people that use, different parts of our collection, and it works really well for their activity.
Okay. All right. So with big time athletes, I don't know if you're there yet, but are you hoping this gets acquired by a major, group? Are you trying to become another Under Armour and kind of separate and have a differentiator? How are you kind of viewing the business moving forward?
Well, we obviously think this is a massive opportunity. And what's so interesting about this whole segment is we're creating a whole new category. And it's a very intuitive category. So the first question we get from a lot of athletes, one of our ambassadors, Julio Jones, I'm sure you know Julio, his question was, I can't believe no one's thought of this before, because it's so intuitive. It's like, well, of course, if I can add something to my training that doesn't interfere with it but gives me more benefit, it's incredibly intuitive. That's a professional athlete, an unbelievable athlete. And then we have everyday athletes who are just, looking to gain a little bit more from a boost to their everyday workout. And when you think about it, how intuitive it is to add a little bit of weight and get more from your work, you can imagine the category of training, which hasn't been, really from an apparel standpoint, been innovated on for a very long time. It's such a tremendous opportunity to build a large category. So we love the idea of this, creating a category that will grow big. Now, what that leads to in the future and whether or not we get acquired, that remains to be seen. But we take it one step at a time. And the key thing for us is just to deliver something that, gives people a better workout.
This is a pointed question, but I have to ask it in the vein of this conversation. You spent over 20 years at Nike. Why isn't Nike making this?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think, it kind of goes against the whole idea that's propelled the company, a wonderful company, to becoming an incredible company. And that is the idea that lighter is better, right? I mean, it's founded on that. Bill Bowerman and Phil Knight at U of O were working on taking every single ounce out of footwear in the beginning. And that's the spirit of it. So it's counter to that. That's not to say that, that could be an opportunity for training, but I really wanted to try this outside of the safety net of a large, amazing brand and see what if we did this ourselves, what would it be like? And that's why it's so exciting to, there's something incredibly energizing about the freedom to move as a small team of inspired, smart people. So that was just the path we took.
Okay. While I have you here, considering your background and you're an author and you've written about the digital world now, and that is really our wheelhouse on this podcast, can I just ask you some broad questions about where you think the state of sports and technology is right now? The name of your book was The 7 New Laws for a World Gone Digital. What are they? What are the new laws for the world gone digital?
Well, I think that, the book was written in 2012. So some of the examples in the book, have changed, but the foundational idea behind them is the same. And I think Ajaz Ahmed, my co-author, and myself, at the time when we wrote it, I was at Nike. He has founded an incredible agency called AKQA. And we were talking about the observations we'd had in our lives with companies that we had interacted with where technology and sports came together. And these insights were, what was interesting about them was that, none of them in isolation are revolutionary. But what seemed to be the case with technology was that it almost became a crutch. It was like, it's going to come in and completely change the way we behave. And what we talked about was the human nature and the needs we have as consumers haven't really changed because of the introduction of technology. It's just, how do you use that in a smart way to make whatever proposition you have better? That was something that we used at Nike. We were not thinking about it through the lens of, we're going to completely change because of digital. We're just going to use it to make it better. So the way we used to talk about it at Nike, we would say, can we move from making a better shoe to help you become a better you? So you take a broader view of the athlete and you say, we're going to introduce technology to serve people better. And that was the underlying, theme of the book, was just our insights around how do we apply it? How do we think about it in a way where it becomes an additive as opposed to a complete change to how we think about it? Because that drives a lot of this. There's a great quote in the book from a Jaws where he talks about, the greatest force in the universe isn't technology, it's imagination.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about that in the book.
For the training experience, here we are in 2022. There is more and more immersive opportunities using various different types of digital technologies. How do you see those two marrying with one another into the future?
I think, again, it's a great way to enhance. When you think of what you can do with VR deployed in the right way, MR, AR, I think all those technologies are things that can help us do, when you think of the world of sports, help us do things better. I'm going to separate esports because that's an area I'm not as familiar with. But if you think about traditional physical sports, like, you're still going to be moving. You're still going to be doing things that and I don't think technology is going to replace anything, but it has an tremendous opportunity to enhance. Whether if you think about it, a lot of the repetitions that you have to do as an athlete that you could refine using, for instance, VR as a way to prepare and train. It's a great way to do that. I mean, in your home, and that's just one example of it. But I think that the key thing for me around it is to not get so enamored with it that you think it's going to completely replace where we came from, but rather look at it as an additive.
Certainly variety in fitness, there's opportunity there, like in these immersive experiences, and on some level gamifying them as well. If you were trying to get an interested younger generation, do you view those as things that are going to continually grow in the fitness industry?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do think that one key theme, again, I keep coming back to this idea of being human and who we are and what the motivations are. And the connection with other people is massive. I mean, we've seen this during the pandemic, right? When we get isolated, it's really, really tough. And I think technology can be such a great bridge. And the best fitness technologies are those that enhance your physical activity, but connect you with other people. And then gamification, absolutely. We saw this back when we did at Nike. We started off very early with our running app, where we created levels. We had our fuel band, which was a remarkable innovation that used the simple idea of just daily motivation. Set yourself a goal, hit that goal, and celebrate that goal. Things like this that, you gamify it in order to drive motivation. But motivation is an inherent human trait. So I think that's why, for me, technology is at its best when it picks up things that we already do, enhance them, connect us with other people, and then, throw in a little gamification there to keep people interested and motivated.
Okay. All right. Last thing, let's just go back to Omorpho. As you try to educate your public and your potential customers on the benefits of training with this type of material, what is the barrier for you? What are you trying to educate people about?
Like you and I are having this conversation now, and you're like, well, why is weight better, right? People want to know, and then when you explain it, it's really logical. But when they try it on, it becomes instantly understandable and intuitive. And we've seen, so we have the response from our customers is tremendous. But as a startup, there's a lot of noise out there. And when you're trying to convey something that is so powerful through a screen predominantly, because we're a direct-to-consumer brand, we don't have, massive physical outlets for people to try this out. So one of the things for us is trying to explain this, oftentimes through a phone screen, is, it's hard and it takes time. But the beauty of it is that once people try our product, they're hooked. They're instantly, our return rates are incredibly low. Our, the net promoter score is massive. But the thing for us is this, because it is so novel, because we've been told for forever that lighter is better. And when you tell someone lighter isn't always better, it really clicks. But it's this, it's a step-by-step the process. And what's so exciting for us is every person that tries this becomes a spokesperson for us.
Stefan Olander is the founder of Omorpho. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Onnit's semi-annual sale is here. For 2 weeks only, all of our products are on sale at huge discounts. Save 25% off supplements, 10% off fitness equipment, 50% off all Onnit 6 programs, with select doorbusters at 60% off, and exclusive free gifts too. But hurry, the Onnit semi-annual sale ends Sunday, May 29th. Learn more at onnit.com. Promo codes are not valid during sale time.
On the next Future Sport podcast, wearables in footwear.
No, we are all walking, or most of mankind is walking through their feet.
Yeah.
And nobody stays tracking the feet. No, it's like we have indications of steps from our wristband, which is great, but we're not walking from our hands. So I can tell you that there's a race and a lot of interest from, I think, all of the players in the world of athletic footwear, and not just athletics, from health care, to connect their users through their footwear.
That's Guy Aharon, co-founder and CEO of PlayerMaker, who has built products used by soccer players to improve technique and avoid injury. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.